be good to go. Oh, actually, no, it's already recording. Perfect. Welcome back to another episode of the J Youngblood Experience. Today I have with me Holly Clark. How are you doing today, Holly?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So, Holly, for all the people who don't know who you are, give a little explanation of who you are, where you come from, and what you do.
Yeah, so I've been racing since I was about like 5 years old, and I started in quarter midgets thanks to my dad, who's raced just about everything on wheels.
Mm-hmm.
And he eventually retired to become my crew chief, and so I raced quarter midgets like all throughout my childhood and all that, like up to 2019 when I won the National Points Championship with USAC and the
Mm-hmm.
quarter midget series, and I was the only girl to win one that year, so that was pretty cool. And then from there, I applied for this camp. It's called the Junior Late Model Challenge Camp. And we're like, sure, that could be cool. We didn't
Yeah.
think anything of it. And so I applied, and they had about 400 applicants. They narrowed it down to the top 12, the top 50, and then the top 12. And I made the top 12. And so that was really cool.
Yeah.
And so from there, I got to learn about like stock car racing, like junior late models specifically. And we learned about tires and setup, marketing, branding, all the stuff. It was very
Yeah.
well rounded. And I always thought growing up in quarter midgets, it was like, oh, I think this will just be family fun. I don't think it'll turn into anything serious. But I got one taste of that stock car racing and I was hooked. So
Yeah.
I started racing junior late models at Madeira, and then I eventually started racing pro late models, and I now also race modifieds as well. That's been going really well. So, and I recently got my first win at my home track, so that was really awesome.
That's
And we're
awesome.
gonna try and get some more.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me this, what made is that in your family? So have they always raced, or is this something that just came up and you enjoyed growing up?
So I'm actually a third generation racer. So my
Oh,
grandfather raced like some autocross and stuff, and
uh-huh.
then my dad raced quarter midgets and like all sorts of stuff, like including bicycles,
Yeah.
like I said, everything on wheels. And then he passed it on to me. Like when I was like, about 3 years old, I would ride in his lap through tech and his Formula Mazda thing.
Yeah.
So like it's just been something I've always been around, and it's just kind of I can't see my life without it. Like it's always
Yeah.
been a part of me.
No, it seems like you're very passionate about it for sure.
Yeah.
It sounds like you really enjoy it. So I'm looking through your Instagram. You just got your first win the other night, you said?
So it was a couple weeks ago. It
Okay.
was May 25th.
And where was that at?
That was at Colorado National Speedway.
Okay.
So that's my home track. It's about 2 hours away from us. That's a little bit past Denver, which is in Tacoma.
Yeah.
We're in Colorado Springs. So it's a bit of a drive for us still, but I mean, it's a lot easier than our drives to California, which are about like 13 hours at
Yeah,
the
I can
least.
imagine. I can imagine. So tell me this, whenever you first started racing, um, were you good at it then, or did you have to actually work yourself up to where you're at now, to where you're actually able to compete and whatnot?
Oh man, I've never seen anyone who is good right off the bat. Like
Yeah,
it always
understood.
takes work. And if you're not working, like my dad always says, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. Like if you're not
Absolutely.
doing anything to make yourself better, you're getting worse. So like I said, raced quarter midgets for 9 years. That's how long it took for me to get my national championship. Like in that time, won a lot of local and regional championships, set a lot of track records and stuff. But in order to get that national championship that I wanted, it
Yeah,
took 9 years for us. And then it took us a little over 4 years for me to get my first win since then. So
yeah,
it's been difficult. It's been tough. It's been because it's such a big learning curve too. Like for me, going from quarter midgets, those were just like little cars.
yeah,
And then that was a big jump from that to stock cars. So most people they have something in between like legends or like something in between.
yeah.
But I just made that big jump and it took a while for it to come around, but we got there. We got
It
that
was
first
it
win
was
and
well
we're
worth
gonna
it.
keep working at it. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
We gotta work really hard. Like we spend countless hours working in the garage,
yeah,
me and my dad on the modified, trying to make it better, faster, any way that we can. I'm always doing stuff like reviewing footage, being like, oh, I could do that better. It's like, that's why I
yeah.
lost some time there. Always doing stuff constantly.
So I hear you talk about working, and for the people listening to this, I grew up a little bit around race cars as well. When it comes to working, what type of work are you putting in? Is this modifying the car? Is this track sessions? What exactly goes into that?
So me and my dad, especially like because it's just me and him. Like with
Yeah,
the mod, it's just us at the track. Like, and my mom helps keeps us organized and everything. But when it comes to the car, it's me and dad. So he's working on the car, busting his butt to try and make it as fast and as better, like handle around the track. And then me as a driver, I'm constantly trying to stay in shape, and always reviewing what I can do better on track. So whether that's reviewing footage or responding to feedback, trying what they're telling me to do, or just like not being told that it's like, oh, that didn't work, let's try something else. Like
Yeah.
while I'm on track, being like, oh, well, maybe let's try a different line here. So it's loose going in. Let's try, closing up my entry a little bit, entering a bit sooner, tighten it up, things like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's never ending, but that's kind of the joy of it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what keeps it exciting.
Absolutely. So when you're on the track, what are you looking for? What type of feel are you looking for? How do you notice if something's wrong, something's off? What exactly is your mindset whenever you're driving and testing this car out?
So, I mean, Mario Andretti said if everything feels comfortable, you're not going fast enough. But you
Yeah.
definitely kind of want that comfortable feel, just a little bit. Because if you feel like you're skating all over the track, you feel like you're pushing up the track, you're scrubbing away time.
Yeah.
Some things it might feel fast, it might look fast. When they're like, the rear end's kicked out, they're going way too fast around the corner. That might look fast, but that stopwatch doesn't like it. So
Yeah.
you gotta, be smooth and consistent. That's always been my advantage. Like I'm always been a really smooth and consistent driver. And while others, they like to go for that over aggressive feel, I've kind of like they'll slide up the track, overdriving it, and I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, thank you.
Around them.
I'll
Yeah.
take that spot. Thanks for moving over from me. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's something you kind of look for. I always like my car a little bit on the tighter side because there's a
Yeah.
little bit more you can work with in the corner, whereas when your car's kind of loose and skating all over, it's just you're just kind of along for the ride.
Yeah.
But we finally got that good setup for CNS when we got that first win. It was great, like for the entire time, and it was one of the longer races too.
Yeah.
So on our local track, they usually race like 25 laps or so, and with our Spears racing, which is in like California mostly,
Yeah.
they'll do like 70 lappers, or
I
with Pro Late
gotcha.
Model like 100 lappers. So it was funny to see my local competitors be like 50 laps. Oh gosh, like, are we gonna be okay with this? I'm like, I usually do double that. I'm like, come on
Yeah.
now, you gotta
Yeah. So
step it
you're
up.
set up for it. Yeah. And how was that
Yeah,
first win
so
for you? How did that feel whenever you got that win? What was your thought
surreal.
process?
I didn't know what to think, honestly,
Yeah.
but it was because we were leading most of that race, and then those last 15 laps had
Mm-hmm.
4 cautions where they bunch everyone back up. We
Yeah.
got to restart, and I'm starting next to guys that like are legit. Like these guys are good racers,
Yeah.
and I know how they drive. They're aggressive, like they're clean, but they're tough. So I was stressing in that
Yeah.
helmet. Like I was trying to stay as cool as possible,
Yeah.
but I was pretty stressed in there. But when we did it, my spotter came on the radio. It's like I was going into turn 3 and 4 on the last lap. He's like, I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but you're about to see a grown man cry. And I was like, I don't. Do you cry for your other drivers when they win? He's like, nope, just
Nope.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's an
But
awesome
I mean,
feeling. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, like it was. I held it together for that interview, but I got to tech and I'm bawling my eyes out. That's where that video on my Instagram comes from.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, we did it.
And is that
Yeah,
just
but it
from
was,
years of preparation, just coming out and getting the setups right, and just not only
yeah,
that, but having to drive against certain people that may be good as well who have different setups? Is that what that comes from? All that emotion?
right. Like everything that you put into it, because like
Yeah,
this is our whole lives.
yeah,
And to finally get the results we've been wanting is just like, it's everything, really.
yeah. And what is that feeling like? Let's say you're going into turn 3 and 4, about to go to the checkered flag. Was somebody in your rear view, and you're like, I hope nothing happens? Like, talk me through that whenever you're coming out of that.
We had a pretty good gap, which
Yeah,
was good because we had really good speed. Like we looked at the lap times after the race because we have this app race monitor. It shows like
yeah,
the lap time for each lap, and it has the podium setting where it's like who crossed the line first, and then the stopwatch setting, which is like who's fastest, who has
yeah.
run the fastest lap. And we ran the fastest lap of the race by 3/10 of a second, which on a
Wow.
17-second lap is a lot.
Yeah,
And on lap 46 out of 50, we ran a 17:4 something, and then everyone after that, like after behind me, had run like a 4 as their best lap of the race.
yeah,
So to see that was pretty cool. But um, I mean, it was a hard earned win. We started seventh because we qualified second by 3 thousandths of a second. That's how much we missed the pole by.
yeah.
And then they inverted the top 8, so we started seventh, and we had to work our way forward. It was tough, but it was a good race.
And guys, are you doing solely asphalt or are you doing dirt track as well?
I've done some dirt.
Yeah.
I raced like this guy like who would lend us his car, Danny Conselman. He
Mm-hmm.
races a lot of dirt stuff. He's really good.
Yeah.
But he has like this kind of junkyard of
Yeah.
sport mods behind his garage setup. So I pulled one out of there, kind of set it up, and we did some of that for a little while. But unfortunately, we haven't gotten around to doing any
Yeah.
lately in these past couple of years. It's just been too busy, too crazy. We just haven't had the funds for it. But I love both.
Yeah.
I think doing dirt has definitely improved my skills on asphalt. It's given me that car control, learning how to drive a car that's kind of skatey or like, when the track changes because with dirt, it's something new every lap.
Yeah.
And I think the race craft of dirt is easier because at that point you're just kind of waiting for the guy in front of you to make a mistake because they will. They'll slide up the track. You'll
Yeah.
take advantage of that. But um, it's learning how to really drive your car and not letting it drive you because it will.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what that has taught me. And then the asphalt has given me that racecraft kind of feel.
Yeah. So for the people that don't know who only maybe watch F1 or NASCAR, what are the
Mhm.
biggest differences when it comes to asphalt versus dirt?
So asphalt, it's a lot more consistent in terms of like track feel and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's in terms of, oh, at night, the track usually goes tight. It starts to feel like this, starts to feel like that. When the tires wear out, it's usually going to feel like this. It's a lot easier to predict that. Not that it's not a little unpredictable here and there,
Yeah.
because these dang race cars never want to cooperate.
Yeah.
But um, dirt, it's ever changing. And there's no way to predict it. You just gotta feel what the car is doing, what the track feels like, and work with it. You just
Yeah.
gotta, trying something new every lap. Asphalt is more setup heavy. If you don't have, like, if you've got a really bad car, it's really hard to do anything with it. Whereas with dirt, it's more on the driver than anything. And so that's how that has made me as a better driver. It's like, I
Mm-hmm.
gotta learn to deal with what I got and just try and do the best that I can with that.
Absolutely. So tell me this: where did you start out? Like whenever you first started racing, a lot of people start with like four wheelers or go karts. What did you start out with?
So I started in quarter midgets, which is like I'm sure you've seen like the dirt midget cars, stuff like
Uh huh.
that. So they're a quarter of the size of those.
Yeah.
So they're for kids 5 to 16, and that's what I
Yeah.
started in. I did that up until I was 13, and then I moved up to the late models and modifieds.
Yeah. So right now, obviously, you're doing pretty well. You know, you're 18, you're driving, winning. What are your ultimate goals? Where do you want to take this, and what do you want to be exactly?
So my goal, like my main goal, is to go to NASCAR Cup one day. In
Yeah.
terms of how we're doing that, is we're trying to make some stuff happen for ARCA, which is the lowest level of NASCAR. And um, mainly what I'm doing is like, of course, trying to get good results and stuff like that, but a lot of marketing so we can kind of reach out to those corporate sponsors and stuff like that
Yeah.
because it's very expensive moving up from there. Like
Absolutely.
ARC is 40,000 per race, and then
Yeah.
trucks are 250,000. We just don't have that, obviously. So that's a big part of it, getting the funds for that. But apart from there, it's just me working myself as a driver, trying to be better in every way that I can. And then, my dad learns a lot from this too, but moving forward from here, I'm kind of in someone else's hands. So we're, that'll be something to adjust to, but
Yeah.
I hope to be working up my way through the ranks pretty soon.
I got you. And then, so whenever you talk about marketing, is that sponsorships? Is that like joint things? What exactly goes into all that?
So for me, it's like, it's very social media based. Like I'm trying to grow my following on social media so that when we do reach out for sponsors, we have something to offer them. Like here's like my fan base that I can, advertise for you
Yeah.
with. Like here are my fans, they stuff like that. But from there, it's like just getting noticed by those corporate sponsors so that
Yeah.
they want to invest in my racing, and then we have something to give back to them as well.
Yeah. So, what type of sponsors have you been reaching out to? If you can talk about that.
So mostly we've been doing like a lot of local people, like a few thousand here, a few thousand there. It's pretty hard to get your foot in the door with some of these like more corporate sponsors. So
Yeah.
we're trying to work some stuff out with that, but I don't know. We'll see.
Are y'all preparing for any races right now?
Yeah, so next weekend I have a race with my modified at Kern County Raceway with the Spears Manufacturing Modified Series. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that. Hopefully, we race pretty well there. It's one of my favorite tracks. It's a big half mile, very fast, very fun.
Hmm.
It's we've had some good results there. So it should be fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So coming off a win, is there a point system in what you're at? Is it like a league or explain that to me?
Yeah, so I race in a few different series, but the Spears Manufacturing Modified Series, that one it does have a points series, and last
Hmm.
year I got second in points, so that
Okay.
was really good. But yeah, so Colorado National we don't race as much for points because we're more focused on like the more national kind of stuff, or like at
Yeah.
least the West Coast stuff. It's you know regional,
Yeah.
but um one of the things is like it's also televised as well, so that's now recently I guess Colorado National has been teamed up with low budget TV, but
Hmm.
before it was like, well, we want to get be focus on the one that's televised, do stuff like
Yeah.
that. But we also do it because like there's so much good competition like on the West Coast and stuff with the Spears Modified Series. Not that the Colorado National isn't good
Yeah.
competition as well, but Spears Manufacturing is best on the West Coast. Like those guys are good, really good. Like
Yeah.
my main competitor Travis Thurkettle, he's been racing. A lot of these guys have been racing longer than I've been alive, but he is comes from a legacy of like his dad's in a like a I don't know Hall of Fame on the West Coast, and it's like
Yeah.
he's he's really good.
Do you
And
get that a lot where a lot of people are mostly just older than you?
oh yeah, like they're all grown men,
Yeah.
and
Is that
I
intimidating at
definitely
all?
stand
Or
out.
yeah?
Yeah, they're like twice my size. It can be a little bit intimidating, but
Yeah.
um I mean, they're all pretty cool. They're nice people. And Travis, he's like just a big teddy bear. He's
I
twice
got
my size, but he's just a sweetheart. He's great. Super fun to race with. You know he'll race you clean. He'll give you a run for your money for sure. But
you. Yeah.
he's a tough, clean racer, and that's what I like most about him.
And
He's good.
when it comes to like the competitive nature, like, do y'all give any jabs to each other, or is this just like clean fun? Like, is there any back and forth with that?
I mean, a little bit. There's our little
Yeah.
rivalries here and there, but I mean, I've never faced anything that's been too serious because
Yeah.
I don't. Besides standing out, I don't cause that much drama. I try
Yeah.
not to. I try not to stir the pot as much as I can.
Yeah.
But definitely seeing me lined up next to those drivers, it's some people have a few things to say about that, mostly positive, some not. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. I can imagine going up against people who are twice your age, driving on the track with them. I'm sure that comes with a lot of anxiety and a lot of just anxiety. How do you deal with
Yeah,
all
a lot
that?
of pressure with that.
Yeah.
So what I like to do before my race is just meditate, get in the moment, because you can't predict anything that's going to happen on track. So why waste your time trying to plan? That's what our brains tend to do is we try to plan for stuff. We
Yeah.
spend about I think 42% of our lives lost in thought.
Yeah.
And so I learned that in like a mindfulness class that I took in
Hmm.
school. It was really great. So what I like to do is just like take a few like 10 minutes or so before the race to just breathe, focus on my breath, get in the moment, and then I perform way better when I do. I recommend that to anyone. Anytime you have a big event, meeting, interview, anything, take a few minutes to just focus on your breath. It helps
Yeah.
tremendously.
And going into that, I actually was just about to ask you that. What is your build up? What do you do to prepare for races? Not when it comes to like the car itself, but like you as a
Mhm.
person mentally, how do you prepare yourself for that type of, situation?
Yeah, so I like to listen to music and stuff. I have a playlist I have set up with songs that kind of get me in the right kind of mindset. I like to, reassure myself with a sort of like mantra, like I can do this, I'm capable, I know I'm capable of doing this, like I know I can perform. There's no reason for me to have any doubt. So like this and I will work with what I have, stuff like that, just saying stuff like
Yeah.
that. And like I said, meditating, breathing for a few minutes, just being in the moment.
Now, physically, what type of toll does it take on your body when you're driving? I know you get a lot of G forces going into different corners. What do you do to prepare for that physically?
So I do a lot of like training, like weightlifting, cardio, stuff like that.
Hmm.
You have to do a mix of stuff like that. There's not a whole lot of training for like the G-force that I pull because like it's not that much. It's not like what
Hmm.
Formula One guys are pulling. But I think because I'm young, it doesn't really take that much of a toll on me.
Yeah.
Um, After a few wrecks, I might feel sore the next couple days, but besides that, I just gotta keep myself in shape, and I'm usually fine.
Yeah. And now you just brought up wrecks, so I have to ask, what's one of the worst wrecks you've been in since you started racing?
I have to say, when I was about 7 years old, there was one race where it was just me and this one other kid. It was a class that didn't get a lot of cars. It was in quarter
Hmm.
midget races, and the first lap, it kind of just put me in the wall. And I don't know what happened after that. All I know is I woke up on the other side of the track. His car is like faced the wrong way. Mine is on top of his. My engine's going like, "Wah!" It's like full rev, and I'm like, whoa, okay. And I had no idea what happened. And so my parents took me to the hospital. My dad got a speeding ticket on the way, so that was fun. And I ended up having a mild concussion. But besides that, I've never been like physically injured. There have been ones that looked really bad, but I walked away from just fine.
Yeah.
Um, but I'd say that one was definitely the one that, took a physical toll.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, I mean, what does that feel like? Did you just like, did your eyes close and then it was like, okay, I'm on top of his car?
I think I just passed out.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah, I
fair
don't
enough.
know. I think I just blacked out for a few seconds, and then I was like, okay, where am I? What's
Yeah,
going
no,
on?
that I could only
Yeah,
imagine. I used to do like,
but
you'd go to like Funsville or something like that and drive, and you'd always hit somebody. I'm sure that's way different than what you dealt with,
right.
but
Right.
how
But
did you
I
feel
mean,
afterward?
after that one, it was just kind of felt dizzy, kind of a little bit disoriented. But
Yeah,
besides that, I mean, all the other wrecks I've been in, the main feeling was just frustration, either with
yeah,
the other driver, with myself, with circumstances for just being there, like the wreck happened, I didn't know where to go, stuff like that.
yeah.
But yeah, that's the main feeling is just frustration, anger, and the stuff like that. And then eventually I'll, cool down and be like, it is what it is, can't change it now, but yeah.
So what has caused most of the wrecks you've been in? Is it a on your part, or do you feel like the other driver? Or is it a mix of that? What do you think that is?
I usually try to never cause wrecks. I'm not
Yeah,
like an aggressive driver in that sense. Like I
yeah,
am kind of aggressive. Like I'll take opportunities where I get them, but I don't force stuff that isn't
hmm,
there. I won't force to make a pass that's not there. There have been times where I was like, ooh, that was not good. That was kind of my fault. And whenever that does, I make an effort to apologize to the other driver. And there have been times where a driver has their driving style and it doesn't exactly align with mine.
yeah,
But some things, they just happen. The majority of this year with the ZMAX Car Store, that one's been a total disaster so far in terms of wrecks and stuff. It's really unfortunate to see because we were very excited about that series. But for the three races we've done with that, all three times we have been in wrecks that just happened in front of us and we had nowhere to go. So
yeah,
that one really sucks because like I have nothing to even be mad at. Just circumstances like
yeah.
just it sucks, but it's part of racing, but that has been a little bit ridiculous. So we're gonna kind of distance ourselves from that series a little bit, and if they start cleaning up that a little bit more, that'd be we'll do more races with them. But this most recent race in Vegas, first 7 laps took 45 minutes. My
Oh
teammate ended
Lord,
up sideways on the wall. It was
Jesus.
it was bad. Like luckily he was okay, but it it was ridiculous and it was really hot too, so that didn't
Yeah,
help.
yeah. Vegas does
But I
get
was
pretty
driving
hot.
like
Yeah.
15 laps without a nose on my car. So that was,
Jeez.
yeah. So,
So what is that feeling like whenever you get in a wreck that you can't control or you're just behind it? Like, how do you even go back to the shop and be like, okay, what can we fix? Like, what is the mindset beside that?
yeah, it's just like, it's one of those things you just gotta pick up the pieces and move on.
Yeah,
Just fix the car, move on from it, and, can't do anything about it, but it just, oh man, I get so mad at those things because it's just like, come
nothing you
on.
can do. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what to be mad at more, like circumstances or myself for like being there. Like,
yeah,
it sucks, but.
for sure. So, what are some big races you have coming up for the rest of the year?
So we're gonna be racing a lot, like at my home track, Colorado National, and then
Mm-hmm.
also with that Spears Manufacturing Modified Series, and we're gonna hopefully be able to do some Pro Late models, do some double duty with the SRL series.
Mm-hmm.
So we both race both my Pro Late model and modified the same night, which is pretty fun for me. I
Yeah,
just hop out of one car and get in the other,
another.
race two races in one night, so that's really fun. So, I don't have my schedule memorized, but I'll be sure to like post about that on my social
Yeah,
media, all the time. So letting people know where I'll be going and when. So it should be, we'll have a good year.
absolutely. And are you looking forward? So going, to your home track, do you feel like you have an advantage over some of the people driving, or are they also some of the local people there as well?
A lot of these guys have been racing here for a long time. They're
Yeah.
local guys. They usually do more races than I do there,
Hmm.
because they're racing the full series, going for like the points championship or something where we are traveling more. We miss
Hmm.
more races than they do. So I wouldn't say I have an advantage over them, but I mean, I try to gain advantage where I can, gain little speed secrets here, there,
Yeah.
and but I mean, it's a good community. So I mean, there's nothing like, oh well, I found like this usually works for me. Like if you're having this problem, so I mean, there's that. Like we share stuff with each other, but I mean, if you find something that's really working, you gotta keep it on the down low,
Yeah.
of course.
Absolutely. And then, is that one of your favorite tracks, or do you have a favorite track to go to?
Personally, I like the half miles. So I like
Okay.
Irwindale and Kern. So Kern is in Bakersfield, and then Irwindale is in LA County.
Hmm.
And those are fun tracks. I like them both for different reasons. Kern, it's fast. It is a fast track. It is very fun to race, very racy. And I have kind of the outside line pretty figured out, whereas other
Hmm.
people are like, oh, it's a one groove track. It's not good for that racing. I'm like, I like this outside groove. It works for me. I can make some good passes out here. But Irwindale, there's like 5 lanes for racing. You can get some really good, hard, clean racing in there. So that's what I like about it. But those are the fast tracks that I like. I like the
Yeah.
big tracks.
And then being your age, not only your age, but being a female in that sport, is it mostly dominated on your side of the United States by men?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's only like a couple other girls that I race with.
Yeah.
Kenna Mitchell's one that comes to mind. She's very good. She's my age. And we recently went to the Sonoma race together, so that was really fun to do.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's not a lot of people our age and not a lot of other girls.
Yeah. And is that something that also in the back of your mind, like, do you have something to prove because you are in a male dominated area? Do you feel like you have to go above and beyond to be better and whatnot?
I wouldn't say I have something to prove, but
Hmm.
anytime I feel like I've performed poorly,
Hmm.
I it weighs on me a little bit more because I'm thinking then like, oh, is another girl gonna lose an opportunity because of me?
Yeah.
Because I was in a situation where I was working with this team um out east, and it was after qualifying. I qualified pretty well. I think I qualified like third or something. And this was with a new team I had not worked with before. I had only raced this track like one other time. And so I was told after qualifying, like I was, just chatting it up with this guy, talking about like my race career, telling stories, stuff like that. And he's like, well, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I wasn't sure about you at first. I was like, what? He's, because this team had worked with another female driver in the past, and she,
Hmm.
I guess, wasn't that good. And then he's like, well, this morning I asked Dexter, I was like, well, when's the driver gonna be here? And he said, oh, she'll be here soon. And I was like, what do you mean she? And he was like, no, 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 like she's really good. And I was like, okay, whatever, here we go again. But then I saw you drive, and I was like, okay, yeah, she's pretty good. But it's just one of those things. It's like they judge the whole community of female racers based on like
Yeah.
one experience, one or two
Yeah.
experiences. So I
Absolutely.
always fear that I may be costing another girl an opportunity or something just because like I did bad one time. So
Hmm.
that's a fear that I do have, but I try to put it out of my mind. I try not to weigh on that too much, but it's definitely that extra pressure for sure.
Absolutely. Even in most other races too, it is male dominated. There are a lot of young, talented women out there who are racing.
Oh yeah.
Do you feel that that puts a little bit more pressure on you to be good and to win races and to get top tens, top fives?
I would say just yeah, a little bit because like I don't want to prove the I don't want to say the haters because I don't really have many of those yet, but
Yeah,
any people that doubt, I don't want them to be right.
yeah,
But more than I want to prove people wrong, I want to prove my supporters right. I
yeah,
don't want to I want to prove the small group of people I have around me right more than I want to prove the majority wrong.
Understood. Yeah. And what's your biggest motivation? Like, who inspires you the most to be good and do good and come out on top?
So my motivation mainly just comes from the fact that I just love this so much.
Yeah.
I can't see myself doing anything else. So really, it's just my love for that. But someone who inspires me is Janet Guthrie, the first woman to ever qualify for the Indy 500 and Daytona 500. She was
Hmm.
amazing. I did a whole school project on her in my
Yeah.
history class. Like I love her. She's great. And she's had so many iconic moments where someone's like, "Well, do you think you're physically capable of withstanding these tough conditions?" She's like, "Well, you don't have to lift the car. You just sit in it." Like
Yeah.
I quote that on a daily. She's like she's an icon in the motorsport
Yeah.
world. So
That's awesome.
she's someone who I really look up to and admire.
Yeah. It sounds like you're pretty motivated by it. It sounds like you love it. Not a lot of people find something they love, so I can say that's awesome to find. How we
Yeah.
usually end podcasts here is I have my guest leave some positive vibes or positive advice to the people out there who are listening. So, do you have anything like that for anybody out there listening?
Yeah, my best advice would be don't be afraid to make mistakes. No matter what you're doing, it's how you learn. Like,
Yeah,
I always used to be so afraid of messing up in any little way, but that's how you learn. Like, for me on track is like I'm practicing and I'm like, let's try this line, see if it's faster. Nope. Or it like totally doesn't drive right. It's like, well, now I know. Like, even if you try something and it doesn't work, now you know.
yeah,
You're a step ahead of where you were before. So never be afraid to make mistakes. It's how you get better. And failures are temporary, but your success that comes from it, it makes it so much sweeter. The struggle is what makes victory taste so sweet. As someone who
absolutely.
took 4 years to get their first win, I can tell you what those tears of joy came from all the struggle it took to get there.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like you're doing good. I wish you the absolute best. I appreciate you having you on today,
Thank
Holly. If you
you.
need anything, let me know. And
Yeah.
I'll be updated and watching your Instagram and seeing what you do.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
Thank you.
This podcast is sponsored by W Energy. Whether you just need some energy for the day or if you need to get through the gym, W Energy, use promo code TheJYE, the J Gumblett Experience to get 10% off the entire site.